Many sessions ago, we talked about the result in life, and we had three buckets. We had one, ability, right, which is mostly academic. We had the second, which was effort, which is kind of like the work ethic, and the third was attitude. So if you take those three buckets, so you take ability, effort, and attitude, that pretty much equals success. Now, there might be other components. I just picked these three. I think they're the most important, right? So now, of the three, all right, which is attitude, the issue of work ethic, and ability, what do you think if I said you got to pick one of the three, which you would consider to be the most important? Which one would it be?
Well, I'm cheating, but attitude.
Yeah.
Since attitude
So you read
affects
that
everything else.
No, you kind of knew that, right?
Yeah.
And so we talk about attitude, and you say to yourself, well, why is that of the three maybe the most important? Now, this is my opinion. People might want to debate that issue, but I think it is. And so let's turn to page 3, and I'm just going to use this as kind of an example. And we'll talk about attitude as relates to being on a team. Right? So now, whether it's basketball, soccer, football, whatever, doesn't matter. All right? So you're in a team situation. And let's look at the data points right below, right? And so we have abilities, and we have attitudes, and we have result, right? Now, we left out the issue of work ethic, but for purposes of just this presentation, we'll just take those two. So if you take abilities, if you've got great talent as an individual, right? So let's say you have great talent in whatever it is that we're participating in at a team level, but you have a rotten attitude. You just have a lousy attitude. The result is what?
Bad team.
We all agree with that, right? Right? Yeah, if you're part of a team effort and you might have great talent, but if you just have a lousy attitude, you're going to have a bad team, all right? So let's take the next level. So we're back again with the great talent, right? But in this case, you don't have a lousy, rotten attitude. You have, we'll soften it up a little bit. You have a bad attitude. What's the result?
An average
You
team.
become an average team. Okay, so it's not as bad as a bad team, but it's not a great team. All right, the third bullet is, so we have back to great talent, and we have kind of average attitudes. You know, it's not lousy, it's not bad, but it could be better, but on average, it's okay. The result is a good team, right? Okay. Then we go to the fourth bullet, which is, once again, we have great talent, but we have good attitudes. We just have a good attitude. What's the result?
A great team.
Great
Right.
team.
Right, right. So I have a quote in the book about aptitude, right? Attitude, and what? What was the third, which gives you, it talks almost about height, altitude. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So aptitude by itself doesn't necessarily give you altitude, but when you combine aptitude, right, with attitude, that gives you altitude. You know, kind of all rhymes, right? So attitude is extremely important. All right, especially as you're climbing this mountain of leadership, Mount Everest, it's all going to be about that attitude, right? So if you go to page 5, the issue of rotten attitude, if left alone, it can ruin everything. It causes dissension, resentment, you become combative. Thomas Jefferson remarked, "Nothing can stop a man with the right attitude from achieving his goal. Nothing on earth can help the man with the wrong mental attitude." All right? So nothing can stop a man, let's put person, whether it's a man or a woman, with the right attitude from achieving his goal. You can't be stopped with the right attitude, right? But nothing on earth can help someone who has a lousy attitude. It becomes hopeless, right? That makes sense to you guys, right? Have you ever experienced this issue of attitude and kind of day to day?
Of course.
Whether it's at home or in school or on the subway?
I mean, sometimes it's your own friend group.
Right.
It's just, I mean, am I wrong? It's just that's the only way. That's the most realistic example I could give. It's usually the friend group you're around. It's hard to say family, depending on who you are. But I feel like it's friend group wise. A lot of kids kind of beat themselves down. If not, they're just negative towards everything. So they keep a negative light around them. You really just don't want to be around that.
Yeah.
I mean, you could try to shed as much positivity as you can.
And it doesn't help.
Yeah, look at the bright side of every situation. But if you approach it negatively and you deal with it negatively, it's just gonna come out negatively.
Yeah.
You would agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. And you could also see it in, like, let's say, media nowadays.
Yep.
Just like, for example, in the instance of celebrities, everything's basically recorded. You can see everything. And you can see how, like, people with bad attitudes who are, like, cocky because of their success ended up crumbling down with everything else.
They self-destruct.
Yes,
Yeah,
basically.
they literally do. Yeah.
And while people, even if they start from, like, the lowest background, they slowly rise up to become one of the most popular celebrities today just because of a good attitude and a good work ethic.
You agree with that?
I have like every time, like every weekend, we used to like play like a sport or something, soccer, basketball. Not that much basketball, but I remember there was this one friend. He was really pessimistic. He no matter what we did, he always said, "Oh, we're gonna lose. We're gonna get scraped."
Right.
And when everyone else, we were so positive, like don't listen to him. We're gonna do great. We're gonna do fine. We ended up losing because every time we messed up one thing, it turns out it was the biggest mistake in our lives.
So if you think you're a loser,
You're
are
going to become a loser.
if you think you're a victim, what happens? You are.
You're gonna
Right? Yeah, it's self-fulfilling, right? So that's why the attitude is so important, right? So you
It's kind of like motivation, kind of.
yeah,
A great attitude, you're gonna have to. With a great attitude, you motivate yourself to continue on instead of just stopping right there where you are.
And optimism, too. That type of way of thinking will lead you way farther in life than just doubting every single thing you do.
yeah. Look, if you think you can't, you won't, right? You won't. And if you think you will, that doesn't necessarily mean you will to the extent that you think you will, but you'll probably come pretty close to accomplishment, right? You might not get there, but you'll come pretty close. But I'm convinced if you say I can't, you won't. You won't, because you're not taking any effort to get there. You're not trying, right? And we all know, which we taught here in the academy, that there's going to be many roadblocks along the way, right? Many failure points along the way, all right? But if you never try to improve yourself or to become a leader, if you never try, then you can't fail. Because failure is trying, all right? And I've seen very few people who try without failing and become very successful. Very few people. Now, you can probably count them on your right hand, right? So most people, as they try, they fail. But they become resilient. And what they do is, as they fail, they learn from their failures, and then they keep moving on. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the best way to sum it up, it was like an old Kanye, I think, back when Kanye was good. There's an old Kanye lyric. He said, shoot for the stars, because if you fall, you land on the clouds.
There you go.
I always just, like, whenever anybody ever mentioned that, like, pushing to your limits and stuff, and even if you fall, you did accomplish something, whether it was bettering yourself as an individual, completing a task on time, or just completing multiple tasks and stuff. So it's just like you completed so much on the road to completing the ultimate goal that even if you did fail, you could accomplish so much that you could still be content with what you did.
Right. Yep. Yeah, it's self-fulfilling. Yeah. Did you have any comment on that?
Well, yeah, he basically took everything I was going to say. Like,
that's what I would have said. That's what
Yeah.
you're saying. Yeah, right.
yeah, because in the end, everything ties back to attitude and everything else. If you just don't try, then nothing will happen.
Right.
Like, if you don't try, then there's 100% possibility that you're gonna fail. But even if you do, then who knows? You might succeed and go on even further than you imagined. That's how I used to think of things. You miss all the shots you don't take, basically.
Right. That's right. You miss. Where did that come from? That's a famous quote, or is that your quote?
It's Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael Jordan. Yeah, right. And talking about Michael Jordan, now, when he was growing up, he wasn't a great basketball player. And as a matter of fact, I think in high school, he got cut. And he wasn't all that tall either. I think he pretty much shot up in college. And he eventually, I guess, 6'5" or 6'4", whatever. But so he was shorter in high school, and he wasn't a great player, and he was cut. So So you look at someone like Jordan, you say, my gosh, how did he do this, right? Right? How did this happen? Attitude, attitude, attitude. He didn't feel sorry about himself. He didn't feel like a loser. He didn't feel, he was a victim of circumstance, right? He just said, you know what? I'm better than this, and I'm going to make it happen. And now he's probably the greatest, if not one of the greatest basketball players. And those stories go on, right? They just go on and on. And you read about these people that become very successful, as we've defined success, which is being all you can be. And read their books, if they have books, all right? But look at their life stories. And what you're going to see, no different than Michael Jordan, lots of other celebrities, lots of famous people that, you're going to see failure points all along the way. All along the way. Big failure points, major setbacks, where it would have been very easy for any one of these people to say, you know what, I've had enough of this, that's it, I'm out of here. They saw that as an opportunity. And they learned from their failure points. But that was a famous quote from Jordan. Yeah. You're not going to miss the shots you don't take. That's right. Yeah. Okay. I think any other thing on attitude? All right. It's basic common sense, right? But extremely important. All right. So if you said to me when I was managing these high-tech companies as a CEO, if I had two people, right, and one had great talent and academic ability, but had a lousy attitude, versus someone who had average ability, but had a great attitude, which of the one would I pick?
Great attitude.
Great attitude.
Right. Yeah. And we also said at some point you're going to enter the workforce, and we also noted at the academy is that first job you get will probably be based on your academic credentials, grades and all that stuff, right? Student government helps, sports helps, obviously, on the resume. But that'll get you the first job. We all know that the thing that's going to keep that job, if not get a promotion, is attitude.
Attitude and personality.
That's it. That's simple. Right? I didn't understand that when I first got a job, how important attitude was. Social skills, we call them social skills. That's part of attitude.
EQ.
The EQ, right? We've learned about EQ, the importance of EQ versus IQ. All right. IQ is basically academic, math, science, English, classroom kind of stuff. We call them the hard skills, right? And the soft skills are the EQ, which are more the emotional skills, extremely important, right? Self-confidence, how you interact with people, which is the social skills, self-management, how you manage yourself, which is important, right? Those are all the EQ skills, and that's basically what we teach at the academy. It's more the EQ than it is the IQ. The schools do a great job with the hard skills, which is math, science, English, whatever. And they do a great job, by the way, also with the EQ skills, the soft skills, because we mentioned earlier that you walk through the school building and you'll see integrity, character, honesty, attitude all over the place. So you're constantly being reminded. What the academy does is it brings proof of concept. It says, okay, so we get all of this, but now from my experience, I've been there and I've done that. So now I'm going to explain that to you, and that adds validation and credibility to what the academy does, right? Because we've been there, done that. So I've got lots of battle scars, probably too many battle scars. Okay, that finishes that segment.